far as the subject of dignity of women is concerned, I am reminded of the couplet of Allama Iqbal, वजूद जन से है तस्वीर कायनात में रंग, इसी के साज से है ज़िंदगी का सोज़े दुरून, शरफ में है बढ़ के सुरैया से मुश्त खाक इसकी, कि हर शर्फ है इसी दुर्ज का दुर मखनूम, मकालमात अफलातून न लिख सके लेकिन इसी के शोले से टूटा शरार अफलातून. So this institution of womanhood and a woman itself, she deserves respect. She deserves a dignified treatment by reason of simply being a woman. Whether that woman is our mother, whether she is a wife, whether she is a sister, or whether she is your batchmate, or whether she is my colleague in the department, she deserves a special treatment. She deserves a dignified treatment. Now you will be surprised to hear that as per the statistics prepared by the British Broadcasting Corporation BBC, almost 70% of the women, whatever harassments take place at the workplaces, 70% of the cases go unreported. Simply because the women are reluctant. Because they feel that there may be retaliation on the part of the accused. And most importantly, they feel that it carries a stigma with it. That yes, that lady, that woman has been victimized, she has been subject to sexual harassment. So the whole object of this sensitization program is to encourage the victims. Wherever a person feels that he or she is a victim of harassment in any form, she should come forward and report it. You have a full-fledged mechanism in your university whereby you can redress your grievances. Now, so far as the movement against the sexual harassment is concerned, so far as our country is concerned, India is concerned, it started way back in 1990s. I don't know whether you have heard the name of a lady, Bhamri Devi from Rajasthan. That Bhamri Devi was Rajasthan government's employee. She was working in the child and women department. The mandate of that department was actually to create awareness about different evils like dowry, child marriage, female feticide and female infanticide. It was working for the hygiene and family planning also. Now, Bhamri Devi, who was the employee of that child and women department, she got a tip that an infant girl of 9 months was being married to another infant, male, in some locality, which was falling within her jurisdiction. She approached the parents. She persuaded them to stop it, child marriage. But having failed to do so, the parents did not relent. She approached to the local police with a request to intervene. The local police, they reached to the spot where this marriage was being ceremonialized. Despite their intervention, the marriage took place on the terrace of the home, other than the home in which it was originally planned. Now, the families of these children who got married, they were Gujars. And this Bhamri Devi, who agitated against it, she belonged to the caste of Kumars. That is, those people who make these pots. So, as against the Kumars, these Gujars were considered to be elite class. They took it very otherwise. They wanted to teach her a lesson. They started a boycott movement against Bhamri Devi. They asked all the villagers and the people living in that locality not to buy the pots from her, not to buy any milk she sold. In September 1992, when Bhamri Devi, along with her husband, had gone to the nearby fields to get fresh fodder for the cattle, they were attacked by a group of 5 men belonging to the Gujar caste. 2 of them got hold of Bhamri Devi, and other 3 they gang raped Bhauri Devi on spot in presence of the husband. After they committed this heinous crime, Bhauri Devi along with her husband went to the local police station and there she lodged an FIR. After facing so many hurdles, initially the police was reluctant to register FIR. But somehow she managed it and got the FIR registered. A charge sheet was filed in 1993. All the 5 were arrested. Subsequently, they applied for the bail. The trial court in Jaipur, it refused to grant them the bail. But you will be surprised to know that in 1995, all the 5 have been acquitted. All the 5 have been given the clean chit. And you will be more surprised to know the grounds on which the clean chit has been given. One ground is that the 5 belong to the upper caste, and the people of the upper caste cannot commit such offense. 1. Second, 2 out of the 3 who gang raped Bhauri Devi, they were above 60 years of age, so they were too old to commit the offense. And third one, that you cannot expect a person to commit such an offense in presence of the victim's husband. How is it possible that they could have committed this offense in presence of the husband? So there was a lot of hue and cry. There were protests throughout Rajasthan and throughout many states of India against their acquittal. Bhauri Devi preferred an appeal against the Rajasthan High Court, and you will be surprised that this appeal is still pending. And Bhauri Devi has crossed now 80 years of age. Her husband is also dead. She is still waiting for the justice. It was in 1997 that some NGOs and some women's rights organizations, they approached the Supreme Court with this request that when Bhauri Devi was gang raped, she was actually gang raped during the course of employment. She was working. And she has been subject to this treatment at the workplace. And the present law which you have, that is not adequate to protect women. So accordingly, in 1997, the Supreme Court of India, where this petition was filed by these NGOs, including Vishaka, you must have heard. You can Google it. It is a very famous case. And the Supreme Court came up with the guidelines for prevention of sexual harassment at workplace. It is only in 2013 that the Parliament of India passed the POSH Act, POSH, POSH Act, that is Sexual Harassment of Women at Workplace, Prevention, Prohibition and Redressal Act, 2013, simply referred to as POSH Act. But let me tell you, it was not only in 2013 or Bhauri Devi that the dignity of women was upheld. Even before that, the Indian society, the Indian nation was conscious of the importance and it was conscious of the status of women in society. My fellow colleague from law, he must be remembering, there was a lady, Nargesh Mirza, a Muslim. She was working as an air hostess. You must have seen that these air hostesses are very beautiful and they are up to date with a purpose. Now the managing director of the Air India, he made a rule that an air hostess would superannuate at the age of 35 years or on her first pregnancy, whichever is earlier. So this lady Nargesh Mirza, she approached the court of law that this rule is arbitrary. And the court upheld it. It said that this rule, which provides that an air hostess will retire from the services at the age of 35 years or on her first pregnancy, it is arbitrary. It disincentivizes the institution of marriage. It is an insult to the institution of womanhood. It is an insult to the institution of marriage because it discourages a lady from getting married. So this rule was struck down, that you cannot have such. You have Article 21 of the Constitution, ladies and gentlemen, that says that no person shall be deprived of his life or personal liberty. न तो आप किसी की जिंदगी छीन सकते, न उसकी आज़ादी सलब कर सकते हैं. Life and liberty. No person may be male or female. It has been interpreted by the Supreme Court from time to time. What does life mean? If we talk of life, then even animals do live. It is not that life, it is a dignified life. It doesn't mean a mere animal existence. It means that you have to guarantee a dignified life, be that a man or be that a woman or any other person. And it is not something discriminatory. You are giving a preferential treatment to a woman. It is not discriminatory because the Constitution itself says that for children and women there is a special protection. Because for a very long period of time, the women, they constituted a deprived class. They were subject to, they were not given any employment. They were not allowed to vote. Right? They had to actually follow that practice of sati and many other ill treatments. That is why this special protection was given to the women from time to time. So far as the POSH is concerned, ladies and gentlemen, the objective of this act is to protect women from sexual harassment. And where they have been subject to the sexual harassment, then you have to provide her a mechanism for the redressal, to seek the redressal. And this POSH Act, the objective of this act is to create a safe and conducive working environment where women feel safe. Because you cannot expect a woman to contribute unless and until she is in an environment that is free of coercion, that is free of intimidation. It was enacted in 2013. Under this act, all the employers, whether government sector or private sector, where you have 10 or more than 10 employees, they should have committee, internal complaints committee. It is mandatory. If it is not there, I will tell you what will be the consequences. And it was in 2015 that University Grants Commission issued the regulations, notified the regulations, that is University Grants Commission Regulations 2015 for the prevention, prohibition and redressal of sexual harassment of women employees and students in higher education institutions. The mandate of these regulations of 2015 is to promote, to ensure a safe and conducive academic atmosphere in the universities and in the colleges, higher education institutions. Now the campus is defined under the regulations. That means if the sexual harassment takes place at the campus, then a person can be taken to the task by ICC of University of Kashmir. Because under UGC regulations, all the higher education institutions have to constitute internal complaints committees. And most of the institutions have the committees in place, including University of Kashmir, which was established way back in 2017 or 18. Under the chairmanship, then present Vice Chancellor Professor Nilofer Ma'am used to be the first presiding officer of the Internal Complaints Committee. And today, after she completed her term, Professor Anisa Shafi, the Dean of Department of Social Welfare and the Dean of Social Sciences, she is the presiding officer of the Internal Complaints Committee. Now the definition of campus I was referring to, that the definition of campus, if an harassment takes place on campus, that harassment can be scrutinized by the Internal Complaints Committee. Now you may ask, what is campus? Suppose the students are on the field visit, they are not on the campus. Suppose the students are on the transportation that commutes them from and to the university. They were somewhere on the highway from Lal Chowk to Baramulla. Under the definition, that is also campus. Campus includes a land or location where the educational institution is situated, and it also includes that place where you visit as a student. be that within the campus or be that outside the campus. And who is a student? Student means a student who is duly admitted to any course and who is pursuing that degree or diploma or certificate course either as a regular student or through a distance mode. And what is sexual harassment? Sexual harassment means an unwanted conduct having sexual undertones, which demeans or which humiliates a person. Or you create an intimidating environment, an environment of fear, where a person feels that if she or he is doing this, he will have to face the consequences. She cannot work freely. Asking sexual favors, passing sexually colored remarks. I will give you just an instance. अभी हमने ICC ने recently we resolved a case. The nature of the case was like this के एक ही सेक्शन में कुछ लोग काम कर रहे थे, वहाँ एक लेडी थी और कुछ some gentlemen were there. ये जो बंदा था मेल, उसका रूम जो था, सेक्शन तो एक ही था लेकिन रूम था उसका वहीं पर एडजॉइनिंग रूम था. तो हर दिन क्या करता था वो, हर दिन जहाँ पर ये लड़की काम करती जिस रूम में, ये पर्दा उठाता था और गाना गाता था और निकलता था अपने रूम में हर दिन. And we came to the conclusion that is an act of harassment. He had created an environment of fear, an environment of intimidation, because that lady was very disturbed. Now you cannot say that, sir, this was not my intention. Your intention doesn't matter. It is how she takes it. If she feels that it's harassment, it is harassment. And one of the strange principles of law applies here. Generally the rule is, everyone is presumed innocent unless proved guilty. Every person is presumed innocent unless he is proved guilty. But here the rule is otherwise, that you are presumed guilty. You are presumed guilty unless proved otherwise. You may say that sometimes this question has been raised that men can be subject to harassment. What about men? Statistics show 1 woman in every 3 women is facing harassment, and 1 man in 9 is facing harassment. So the proportion, so the statistics are in favor of, and remedy, both have the remedy. But this is a legislation that is specially for the protection of women's rights, not for the men. For the men, you have the remedy under other laws. Like you must have heard Tazirat-e-Hind, Indian Penal Code. Or if a lady employee, women employee is involved in some act of indiscipline, it will amount to violation of service rules also. So the action can be taken against that lady under service rules who is actually involved in some kind of misconduct. So having said that, ladies and gentlemen, we have Internal Complaints Committee in University of Kashmir. We have been organizing such types of events in past also. The object of this awareness program, this sensitization program, is to make people aware about the mechanism which we have here in University of Kashmir for seeking the redressal of cases of sexual harassment. We have an internal complaints committee. Professor Anisa Shafi, as I said, is the presiding officer, as is otherwise mandated by the law that only a senior professor can be the presiding officer of the internal complaints committee. Senior professor at the university level and at the college level, he should not be below associate professor. Only women can be a presiding officer. Then you need to have 2 faculty and 2 non-teaching members, preferably those who have a know-how in the field of social work and who have the understanding of law. And 1 member from the non-governmental organization to ensure impartiality. And you have to ensure that at least half of the members of the internal complaints committee are women or females. And it is the responsibility of the internal complaints committee. It must be committed towards zero tolerance. There should be zero tolerance towards the sexual harassment in every higher education institution. And for that purpose, the internal complaints committees, which are working in the different higher education institutions, they have to organize such types of programs. These are the preventive measures. Should we wait for the sexual harassment to happen? No. It is better we take the preventive measures in the form of such awareness programs, that beware, if you are involved in any such type of conduct which is disgraceful, which is against the dignity of a woman, you will be taken to the task by internal complaints committee. The internal complaints committee follows it has a mechanism of inquiry. A complaint is made, but the complaint is to be made within a period of 3 months from the date of incident. You face harassment and then you come after 1 year. That cannot be entertained, because law doesn't help a lazy person. Law is there only for those who are very active and assertive of their rights. And one more thing, you have not to be assertive of your rights only, but you should be conscious of your duties. When your right is violated, now your right is gone, now a duty is imposed on you to come forward, to seek the redressal. If you don't, you are doubly responsible. One, that you have given up your right, and another, you have failed to discharge your duty, which was your legal duty to come forward.